Hi everyone, welcome back to another lightsaber video. I'm going to be talking about Darth Vader's hilts. I have three. I don't have all the Darth Vader lightsabers. The ones I don't have are the ones from, or the one from Revenge of the Sith that wasn't used on screen. I forget the name of it. Is it DV3? Might be the DV3. It's not my favorite anyway. I don't have the one from Rogue One, although that's very similar to the Empire Strikes Back version, but it's cleaner. Yeah, so I don't have the Rogue One. I don't have Revenge of the Sith. And what else is there? Oh yeah, the V2. I don't have the A New Hope V2, although that one I really love, and I would like to add that to my collection at some point, but there's some logistics at the moment which are preventing me from doing so, which I won't go into. So what I do have is A New Hope V1, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. So I'm just going to talk about them briefly, just do a quick comparison between the three hilts. Just let's get this out the way really quickly. I know that you guys know a lot about lightsabers, probably more than I do, so just before you kind of jump in the comments, start correcting me, I know that this one that was used in ESB was also technically the hero hilt in Return of the Jedi. It's the same hilt that's hung on Vader's belt throughout the whole film. I know that. This is not the hero. The Return of this, what I've called the Return of the Jedi, is not the actual hero from Return of the Jedi. It's just a stunt hilt that was used in the fight scenes because it had a blade attached. I know that, but you know, a lot of people just accept this these days as the Return of the Jedi hilt. So for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna call them A New Hope, V1, ESB, and Return of the Jedi. Okay, with that out of the way, these two are Roman props, MPPs, and the one in the back is an 89 Sabers DV6 V2, I believe. So the two, these ones look extremely similar. Alright, let's put them that way and just try to start doing a bit of comparison. So we'll start with A New Hope V1, side by side with the ESB. So the base unit is obviously, as I said, a Roman Props MPP. The shrouds are different. I have removed both the Roman shrouds on it because they're not accurate. This is from Wanawanga and it's made of aluminium. This is also from Wanawanga, is made of steel. This one is considerably thinner. You can see it's got a very thin lip. The steel one on ESB is much thicker. They also have a different paint job. The A New Hope has a black wrinkle paint, which I did not do myself. I did commission some friends to help me out with these. So this is a wrinkle paint for A New Hope. Compared that to ESB, which is a more flat black paint. So those shrouds are from Wanawanga. The A New Hope has a thumb screw with knurling going straight down, top to bottom. ESB has a thumb screw with diamond-shaped or crisscross pattern knurling. Again, these are from Wanawanga, and they both have D-rings, also from Wanawanga. What else? I did add a little bit of chipping here on the paint, just to try to make them look a little bit more screen accurate. So I compared these to some of the reference photos that we have. Unfortunately, there is not a good amount of reference photos for the A New Hope. There are much better pictures for the ESB because they're post-production, which is the version I went with. I didn't go with the on-screen look, I went with the post-production look. So there's a lot of pictures of that, but not a lot for this one. Moving down, obviously the most obvious difference between the two is the absence of colored wires on the ports here in the A New Hope. Here we have red, brown, grey, blue and white. These are from Wonawonga as well. And they're just cut and glued in. Let's see what else. Moving down, I'll put them side by side. You can see that the shroud in A New Hope sits higher up. Look how much of a gap there is between the shroud and the grips. In ESB it sits lower down and it touches the grips. The A New Hope has silver sidebars. ESB has black sidebars. Both of these are variations you can get from Roman props. When you order an MPP, you can order a silver sidebar or a black sidebar. The black sidebar is also accurate for Rogue One, I'm pretty sure, and for the A New Hope V2. The bubble strips on both of these comes from the Costume Props store on eBay. They are the most accurate replicas of bubble strips that I have found, with Wonawonga being a very close second. Underneath the bubble strip, we have a Sloth Furnace card here. This is in a vintage green. And on the ESB, it is a blue. The ESB is absolutely confirmed to have a PCB underneath. Again, because of the post-production photos. A New Hope is unknown. However, the theory is that there must be something underneath because the bubble strip sits up between, let me try to zoom in. So the bubble strip sits up between the shoulders of the clamp. It doesn't sit underneath them, it sits between them, if that makes sense. So there must have been something underneath it to hold it up like that. So that's why I've chosen to go with that particular mod, although it is not confirmed. Another difference is the absence of the lever on ESB. You can see here that the lever has been removed and all that remains is this. The lever on A New Hope is preserved, however, it is secured by a nail which has been bent. And this is a very tricky mod. Again, I commissioned a friend to do this. But that is the accurate look for A New Hope V1. Further down, as I mentioned before, the grips are different. A New Hope has 7 grips, which are shorter. ESB has 6 grips, which are taller and sit much closer to the clamp. The A New Hope grips have a slight angle, almost at 30 degrees, and are a little bit rounded. And they are cut at various lengths. You can see some of them are much taller than others. It's very irregular looking. The A New Hope, for the most part, they are all the same length, and they are cut straight with no angle at the end. There are some small screws on either end of these tracks, one on the top, one on the bottom on the opposite side. These small black screws can be found at Wonawonga. These were not present during filming, but they are present in the post-production prop. So this is, because I went with the post-production look, I added these screws. Another feature of the post-production look is this cracked grip right here, as well as obvious much heavier weathering around the clamp area. In general, much more worn looking. I spent a lot of time using paint, rust paint, various techniques, scratches, nicks, just to make it look much more aged. And again, a lot of rust here on the shroud. So this version, because it's a post-production, looks much more aged and weathered. The A New Hope doesn't look nearly as aged as that. There are some nicks here and there, but I did not want to go all out with weathering on this one, so I prefer to keep it semi-clean. That's it for these first two. The DV6 Return of the Jedi stunt hilt, or the mom, is completely different. It's obviously made of a Graflex, which they had modified to try to resemble the MPPs. As I said, this is from 89 Sabers. Let me just move these out the way so we can focus on the DV6. So I weathered this a lot because of the anodizing. It was very shiny and clean looking. So I added a lot of scratches. I weathered that thumb screw down to reveal a little bit of the brass underneath. I cut off the tip of the pin here on the blade plug, and I rusted it. I also added some rust here and heavily rusted these Allen screws, because this is more accurate for the prop as it appears in the reference material. I also rusted these screws. I just tried to make it look a little bit more worn. There are there's one brass pin here. This is absent from the other side, and that's intentional, that's accurate. Not much to be said about the control box, but I did also scratch it and sand it down just to give it a bit more of a weathered look. There are 7 grips again on this one, which are from Wanawanga, and they are again angled like the A New Hope, 30-degree angle and slightly rounded. I did a little bit of subtle weathering on them. Some nicks and scratches can be seen. So for the most part, all of this is DV6. Just the grips I replaced with better ones from Wanawanga, and the Cobalt is from Wanawanga. The DV6 Cobalt is not at all accurate looking, so I just purchased a ESB Cobalt from Wanawanga. I cut the rivets down and I glued it on because I wanted it to be clocked in the exact orientation. So it has to point that way up to with the control box at 12 o'clock. That end needs to be roughly at 2 o'clock. And I also, as you can see, I heavily rusted this one. Sprayed a lot of rust paint on it, left it outside. There's a little bit of foil tape there on the bottom, and that's accurate for the prop to cover the Graflex logo. Yeah, that's about it. So DV6 with a couple of mods from Wanawanga. A New Hope is Roman props with Wanawanga shroud, D-ring, thumb screw, grips, and sloth furnace. ESB post-production look, heavily rusted, weathered. Definitely spent the most time on this one to try to get it to look the way it does now. It's from Roman props, MPP with black sidebars, Wanawanga grips and screws, sloth furnace card, Wanawanga steel shroud with the stencils, D-ring, thumb screw, and wires, etc. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.